We talk about happiness like it's a feeling, but philosophers have always had a different idea. They believe that happiness is something that you could live every single day, whether or not you feel happy in the moment. Happiness isn't about good vibes, it's about good living and good relationships. So in this video, I'm going to share 3 philosophical ways to be happy that has almost nothing to do with mood and everything to do with who you are and what you do. This shift puts you back in control, helping you live in a way that weathers the storms of life and makes the good times even better. I am Myisha Cherry. I am professor of philosophy at the University of California, Riverside, the author of such books as The Case for Rage and Failures of Forgiveness, and your guide through the messy yet beautiful world of human emotion. Let's get into it. The first way to achieve happiness is to cultivate inner peace. It's easy to confuse happiness with being happy. Being happy is a temporary and a fleeting feeling that's basically based on happenings. It's based on what happens in your life. But according to Buddhist and Stoic philosophy, true happiness is not about momentary situations or emotions. It's about peace of mind. For Buddhist philosophers, peace of mind comes about from understanding that everything is impermanent and is in a constant flux, constant change. For them, once you understand this reality, this truth, then you don't have to suffer anymore. However, when you don't accept it, that's when you begin to suffer. When you think that you will forever have that job or forever have that relationship. When you lose it, you suffer. You can't cope. And that's because you bought into the myth of permanence. However, when you accept impermanence, that's when you get peace. So it's for this reason that peace should be pursued rather than a happy feeling. When you have peace of mind, you have a sense of calm. You feel grounded. You feel at home with yourself. You feel undisturbed by whatever may be happening outside of you, because what's going on inside of you is a buffer, is true serenity, no matter what is going on the outside. It's for this reason that when Master Shinhen Yi, hidden master of the Shaolin Temple, Europe, was asked if he was happy, he said this:
I'm searching for peace. So my state of what I'm aiming for, I would say it is peace. I don't know what type of happiness you mean. Being satisfied with where I'm standing, yes. Does it mean that I don't have hard moments? I have hard moments. And that's why for me, like, what is it I ultimately look for? I would call it's just peace.
This should be consoling for us. We can't control when we feel happy. This is based on external situations. But happiness as inner peace is something that we can control. So how do you cultivate it? You do it through awareness and acceptance. This awareness is about being aware that things constantly change, as opposed to being disappointed or being hurt when things change. It's recognizing that the universe is impermanent and is accepting its impermanence. This can give us inner peace. We can also cultivate peace of mind by extending compassion to other people. Now that we know that things are impermanent, we know that, people are not always going to be the same. They're not going to always do what we expect them to do. This buys into the whole idea of impermanence. We also know that, life changes for us. Sometimes we can be up and we can be down. And given that we've already accepted that this is the reality of the universe, this will allow us to have compassion for people who suffer under rough times. And it can also gives us a kind of compassion for those who make mistakes, because we know that things are constantly changing, that even if we're perfect one day, we can be imperfect the next. And this can allow us to extend compassion to those who do. And since there are things outside of our control, a way to cultivate inner peace is just to focus on what we control. There is a lot going on that we can control. There are wars going on right now that we can't control. There's an economy going on that we can't control. And if we focus on that, then our minds will go into a chaotic state. We will continue to suffer. But if we focus on the things that we can control, it's in those things that can give us a sense of inner peace, a sense of inner calm, when everything in our world is chaotic, when everything in our world is a mess. Focus on what we can control can give us the peace that we need. And then another way that we can cultivate inner peace has to do with ourselves, that we can kind of seek self-understanding, recognizing, okay, what is the thing that makes me feel balanced? Okay, doing this, doing that, not doing this, not doing that, that makes me feel balanced. Okay, that's self-understanding. Another way that we can cultivated is going from self-understanding to self-alignment, making sure that everything in alignment that makes us have a sense of peace, that those things are present, and anything that doesn't give us peace, then we leave those things behind, making sure that our values match up to our behavior, making sure that our values match up to the people that's in our relationship. And when those things do, then we are in alignment, and that gives us a sense of inner peace. Another way that we can cultivate happiness is by seeking excellence. The ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle thought that happiness was about being virtuous. And for him, it was about flourishing, it was about the good life, and all of that was connected with how we operated morally and ethically in the world. And so to flourish for Aristotle means that we become virtuous, and virtue simply means excellence. To flourish, to be happy, is to be morally excellent. In other words, happiness is not about feeling good, but it's about being good and doing good. Well, the first way that we can be morally excellent is to first choose what Aristotle calls the mean between two extremes. Let me explain. So for him, we should choose fear instead of the extremes of cowardness and rashness. We should choose generosity instead of the extremes of stinginess and wastefulness. And we should choose friendliness instead of the extremes of being unfriendly or a people pleaser. This is how we become excellent. This is what makes us virtuous. But that's not enough. We then need to make it a habit. So we shouldn't just do it once or twice or every now and again. We shouldn't just be virtuous in private and not do it in public. Making it a habit means that we try to do it every day. We show up, no matter what place, no matter what context, no matter what situation. And this is all connected with making it, for Aristotle, a stable part of our character. It becomes something that we do often, so much so that people begin to know us as generous. They know us as friendly. They know us as courageous because we do it so much. Next, we should find virtuous friends and role models. Aristotle really, and a lot of ancients of his day, really believe in the power of those that are close to us, keeping us accountable, right? And he believed that we couldn't be virtuous without our friends. It is our friends that inspire us and challenge us to be better and to do better. And it is our friends and also other individuals that kind of show up as role models. They model or show us, what is a generous person? What is a compassionate person? They show us how it's done so that we can emulate them. So it's for this reason that Aristotle said, by imitating the actions of virtuous men, we become virtuous. We need to find friends, study role models who are disciplined, who are courageous, who are loving, so they can show us who to become and inspire us to be better. Now, this is not all about being virtuous for virtuous sake. The way that I read Aristotle is I see the upshots of this morally excellent life. And one upshot for me is that when you are morally virtuous or you strive to be morally excellent in this way, there's a lot of chaos and a lot of danger that you don't experience because you're on a different path from everybody else. There's a lot of drama that you are immune to. And I don't know about you, the less drama in my life, the less chaos in my life, the more happiness that I experience. But also, I think that when you're morally excellent in this particular way, you're pleased with yourself. You have what the philosopher Immanuel Kant calls moral contentment, right? And this can feed into kind of a peace of mind, right? You become happy with yourself, become satisfied with yourself, right? This goes back to kind of making sure that we're in alignment, right? When you are living a life of your values, and if virtue is one of your values, and you're living day to day by those values, you have a sense of inner peace because you're showing up the kind of person that you want to be. Lastly, we can cultivate happiness by finding meaning. According to the contemporary philosopher Susan Wolf, she argues that the thing that makes us happy is the thing that gives us meaning in life. And you're able to find this meaning by actively engaging in projects of worth. She argues that you are doing a meaningful project if you enjoy doing it and if it is a worthwhile project. Susan Wolf writes, meaning arises when subjective attraction meets objective attractiveness. So a meaningful project for you could be painting, creating music, creating YouTube videos, volunteering, investing in supportive relationships. You know, what I find captivating about meaning and its connection to happiness is if you've ever encountered a passionate person, you can kind of feel their vitality. You can feel their excitement. You can feel that they are in a kind of stable state of happiness. And this is what Wolf is alluding to. Someone who has been captured by meaningful projects is experiencing happiness. And what is interesting when you find a passionate person, it doesn't matter if they're broke, right? They still have this vitality from the meaningful project. It doesn't matter if they are alone. The fact they are engaging in something meaningful puts them in a state of happiness. So how do we find meaningful projects? Well, the first thing that we do has a lot to do with the questions that we ask ourselves. So we should ask ourselves, what projects attracts us? What are our talents? What are our strengths? What problem in the world will I be proud to solve? If I had to spend a year working on one project, what would it be? And whatever your answer is to those questions, then that is your meaningful project. That is the thing that can put you in a state of happiness, that can bring you true happiness. Another thing that we can do is to look for activities and look for organizations that we can contribute to. And then we should test them out and change as needed. We might think that something works for us one day and then realize that it doesn't the next. Or we might realize that something could be meaningful for us for a particular season of our lives, and then it loses its meaning when that season is over. But whatever it is, engage in a meaningful project. And if you do, then you will experience true happiness. So remember, happiness is not about chasing a mood. Buddhist and Stoic philosophy reminds us that peace of mind steadies us when life changes. Aristotle shows us that living well through virtue and good habits is happiness in action. And Susan Wolf pushes us to connect our passions to something that truly matters. You can't always control how you feel, but you can control how you live. And when you live with peace, virtue, and meaning, happiness becomes a part of your everyday life. In the comments section, tell me which one of these happiness methods resonated with you the most. And if you found this video to be insightful, please share it with someone else. See you in the next video.